Hello, my name is Roy Warren, and I'm doing a video project right now. That's what this is a video project of in a sociology class in which we were asked to interview a number of first generation immigrants so that we could identify um, or so we could identify and engage some of their experiences and with assimilating to American culture and what that looks like. And in this class so far, we've talked about in Ronald Takaki's book about a lot of the difficult experiences that immigrants have had, being that this nation, with the exception of the Native Americans, it's we're already here. This whole nation was founded by immigrants, and there's a big idea of white egocentrism that starts in the early beginning of our nation's history, and kind of takes this European this white European outlook on as being a dominance outlook on what is acceptable to become American. Seeing that this nation was inhabited and then inhabited by the United Kingdom, and then later took its independence for itself and separated. So then, but over the years, this nation has become a very diverse nation. Has really grown to be kind of a melting pot, and has really taken a pluralist point of view. So we asked a lot of first generation immigrants from different places. I got a couple from Mexico, one from El Salvador, and one from Congo in Africa. And we asked them a bunch of questions about how they got here, when they got here, how old they were, whenever they came, the reason why they came, what their experiences here were, their difficulties with learning English, if they knew English already, and how that played a role. And then we also asked them some more personal questions about how they felt about marriage across ethnic lines, and if they felt any pressure to maintain their ethnic background, or if they felt any pressure to rather forego their some of their cultural background from the place that they came from in order to assimilate to American culture. And some of the questions were really different. I noticed that the two people that came over here when they were older that I interviewed, they were a lot more open and willing to share their experience. Two people I interviewed, whenever they came when they were younger, they didn't want to talk about as much. In fact, I asked them fewer questions because before the interview they told me that some of the questions they were uncomfortable with. So I only asked people the questions they were comfortable with, because I didn't want to put them out or make them feel uncomfortable. I wanted the interviews to be fluid. With that being said, here are the interviews, and whenever they're done, I will talk about some of the ideas and things that I learned from it. Hope you enjoy. Two. All right, could you introduce yourself and explain to us why you came to the United States, how you came to the United States, and well, who you are first off, and then the when, where, why, and how you came to the United States.
Thank you. My name is Doug Kulumbu. I'm from the Congo. I am the mission coordinator here at Fresno Pacific University. Came to America about 10 years ago. Went to school here at Fresno Pacific University. I finished in 2010. I came to America because I believe that America is a country that gives opportunity to everybody that is willing to work. I came with my mom, who brought me here for about a month. She stayed and she went back. I studied business administration with an emphasis in accounting. I don't know, what is the next question?
That's good. What are the primary cultural differences between American society and the Congo?
Um, um, there's a lot of difference in culture, in terms of food, in terms of people. In America, you speak one language. In Congo, we have 4 languages. We have 242 dialect. We have 450 tribe. And we have the official language, which is French. So an average person speak about 3 to 4 languages. I speak 5. You go to America, people usually just speak English.
Yeah.
So, and everybody identify themselves with that one language. But back home we have many languages. That make set up a barrier in culture is for me, is somebody that came from outside. Yeah.
Wow. So how do you think that affects? Does that affect the way that you think and learn?
A lot about. I think in different languages.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So the next question is: religion treated or practiced differently in the United States than it is in the country from which you came?
A little bit, or not so much. Just depend. As I said, the African culture, some of this country are tied to the routine, the tradition. Here you don't have much of that. This is a different world. But we have about 70 to 80% of Christian. We have 50% Catholic, and 80%, 20, 30 are Protestant. Protestant. We have a few number of Muslim, a really small, tiny percentage.
Yeah.
You have also different religions. You have different culture. America is rich in culture because people are coming from different countries.
Yeah.
They're building up the country.
Okay. So now when you think of the word America, what immediately comes to mind?
America, opportunity.
Opportunity.
Yeah.
Outstanding. Have you experienced prejudice or discrimination since you've gotten here?
A lot of it, but I don't focus on that.
Yeah.
I try to be positive.
That's good. Yeah, everything else is old, right? So how would you describe some of the positive experiences that you've had in the United States?
Well, first of all, I have an American family here. That's a positive experience that embrace me, that love me, support me to the person that I'm becoming. I have a lot of friends who are American who have embraced me. They love my country. When I share about my country, I have a lot of support from President. People that come alongside to support what we're doing. The American people have been good people to me. This country has blessed me, and I'm forever grateful.
Right. How would you describe the general relationship between persons of different ethnic backgrounds here? Because you did touch on that this is a really diverse country. How do you think that? How would you describe the way it looks to you? The way that these people with these different backgrounds.
Well, it just depends from one person to another one. There is no one answer for every single case.
Right.
But I think it's the cultures. The culture is a welcoming culture, though there is not a strong tie relationship. Where people can say hi. But I think people don't. I mean, there's still discrimination and racism in America. It's real. But because maybe I went to Fresno Pacific, I haven't been exposed to much of that. So I will not have all the answers about this culture because the only thing I know is FDU.
Right. Yeah, and that's all I need to know is your point of view.
Yeah.
So you answered that well. The country you came from, is there a lot of ethnic diversity, or is it as like here you see a lot of because America is sort of this melting pot where a lot of people come from different parts of the country everywhere. Sometimes I think we lose sight of the fact that in some places it's not so much so.
I mean, it's the same thing pretty much. It is, I just said, America is a very diverse country.
Yeah.
There's a lot of diversity here. It's not a perfect country.
No, it's not a perfect world.
It's not a perfect country, but I think you learn a lot. If you live in Fresno, you have others, Hmong, Latino, Black. Those are diversity, and every race has its own culture.
Right.
I was raised in African culture, which is different from your culture.
Yeah.
I was raised in the house where we believe that it's always important to share food with friends, neighbors. You're gonna walk to your neighbor and say hi, but that's not the American culture. American culture, you are inside the house with books, so you don't even know who's your neighbor.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah.
That's American.
Yeah, I think we put a lot of focus on privacy here, so much so that it's to a fault. I think sometimes. What are the differences between persons from? Well, we pretty much just answered that. How important is language to the process? Well, we talked about that. Don't worry, I'll edit that out. How important is it to maintain a sense of ethnic uniqueness for you? I noticed you got your flag here in your office. So now that you're here in America, how important is it for you to keep the pieces of Congo with you?
Well, I have Congo culture in Fresno. I listen to music, and I came to America when I was 22, so no way I will not forget my culture.
Well,
I have it.
What's the? I'm sorry, I interrupted you. You touched on music. Interested me. What's some differences between music in Congo and music here?
Different language. Congo is a lot of dancing, and
Yeah.
Black people love to dance.
Oh yeah.
White people don't dance, so that's something that plays a role. There's a lot of cultures, a lot of music, different languages. I think that's the big thing.
Okay.
But in Congo, they also play American music.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right on. How have you responded to the various pressures to assimilate to mainstream? Well, have you felt pressure to assimilate to America since you've been here, or
No, not so much.
not so much?
I know who I am.
Yeah, that's good. But you haven't felt like anyone else is, regardless of you knowing how well you are, you haven't felt like anyone else has
Pushing
maybe pushed you to like, hey,
become American?
become American.
Not so much.
I think the fact that you speak English really well probably I think that's the
I don't think I
biggest
speak
thing.
really well.
Well, you speak it very clearly, so that I think a lot of people that come here that don't speak English get pressure
That's
to
true.
like, hey, you hear a lot of learn the language. That's why this question is on here.
Okay.
But I think,
Right.
so what's your? Here's the last question. What is your position on marriage across ethnic lines?
I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, think it's a good thing.
Yeah.
No. Well, there you
That's
go.
how we have Obama.
Yeah, that is how we have Obama. That's how we have a lot of people. You know, I'm not 100% any one ethnicity myself. You know, yeah, I agree with you. I think in that aspect, I think most people do. Okay, that is all.
All right. Well,
Thank you very much.
thank you so
Appreciate
much.
your time.
Thank you. Appreciate
I
you.
appreciate
Thank
you. Okay, so hello. My name is Roy Warren, and I'm doing an interview for Social Work 420, American Ethnicity and Pluralism, where we're interviewing as many first-generation immigrants as possible. So if you guys would please, if you guys would like to introduce yourself and where you've migrated to America from. And then maybe just a brief little, like, it doesn't have to be an in-depth story, but just a little bit of story of how you came here. So,
My name is Ana Sanchez. I migrated here when I was about 5. I migrated from Mexico, and the reason I came here is to obtain a better education.
awesome.
My name is Abigail. I migrated when I was 10 years old, and I came here because my mom migrated here before me, so she came here for a better job and to be able to provide for us.
So you came here to be with family, or
Just my mom. 'Cause
just
that's-
with your mom?
yeah.
Awesome. So and that covers so basically you would say the primary reason it's basically been like a family movement for you, or
Yes.
awesome. And same for you. Is
Yeah.
it kind of your whole family has come, or is it?
Yeah, it's my whole family.
All right. So you guys came with family members. How important is it, do you think, to maintain? Do you guys? I mean, I don't think they speak English in Mexico and El Salvador, do they? No. And how important is it in America, where English is kind of the primary language here for the most part? How important is it to maintain your language with your family? Do either of you guys have children?
No.
No.
Okay. Yeah, you're all no. Not yet. Say you did. How important would it be for you? Would you teach your native language to them as well as English? Do you think it's important to maintain the language?
I think it is important because it's a way to communicate within your family members and others that speak the same language. So if I did have children, I would teach them the language, my primary language.
Okay. And how would you rate that as far as what is English? Would English also be equally as important to learn? Well, I mean, they'll probably learn it in school if they stay here, but but
I think that they're both very important, but if you're in this country, you would have to know English first and then your primary language.
Mm-hmm. And Abigail?
For me, it would be the same. Like, if I had children, I would teach them Spanish because they'll learn English in schools.
Mm-hmm.
So, just so they could get to, learn our language.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, they'll learn English here because we're in America. That's the main,
Right.
language. And then, my parents only speak Spanish, my mom. So I have to
That way they
use
can
that
communicate
language.
with
Yes.
grandma and grandpa.
Yes.
Totally, because family's important, right?
Yeah.
And so that leads us right into our next question, because I think that language is very closely tied to culture. And so as far as what do you think? What do you think? What are some efforts that your parents here in this country, and that you would carry on, that you think you would? What are some efforts they've made with you guys to maintain your culture, and your or how much culture have you maintained? And basically, sorry, this is a 3-part question. So.
Okay.
So we're gonna go. Don't worry, I'll edit my rambling out. But so how important is it to how important is it to you to maintain your culture with, at least within your household and in your local community, and what things have your family done with you to help if any, to help maintain that culture with you? And what things do you think, if any, that you will pass on to your children?
Okay. So, to the first question, I don't have much of my Mexican culture within me. The reason why is because I was here since a very young age, so I didn't pick up any of the traditions that they had back in Mexico.
Okay.
So I picked up the ones here when I came here.
Right.
And within my family, they didn't really emphasize or force me to have those traditions. And what I do have is the ones that I've picked up from what I watched from them.
Yeah. So you're fairly integrated. You're very Americanized already. I mean, given you guys are both Americans here now because you're here, but a lot of this questions, a lot of this, what this project is about is trying to figure out what it is to be American, because American is essentially a melting pot of cultures, So, but. Not that I'm not trying to downgrade your answer. I'm just trying to explain further. There we go.
I don't know. I would say the same thing as her. I mean, we came when we were really young, so our language in El Salvador, it's different than just Spanish. So you use certain words that
it's got different dialect.
Yeah. So it's very different. So I came here when I was younger, so I just know the basic Spanish. I don't know like the Salvadorian Spanish, you know.
Oh,
So
okay.
like when you come over here, you forget like
You're right.
how you used to be, and you're now like
You get a little bit of that Spanglish thing
yeah,
going on.
yeah, and that's the most you'll get. But yeah, I mean,
Right on.
just
And so that answers the question about ethnic uniqueness. The last question I'm going to ask probably might possibly be the most controversial one, but what do you feel about what's your position on marriage across ethnic lines?
My opinion is that race shouldn't matter when it comes to marriage. I feel like you should marry the person who you fall in love with and not care about their ethnicity.
I feel the same way because, I mean, there's so many people here. We all come from different places. I mean, we're like when we meet someone, we're not like, oh, where are you from? You know, you just meet that person and you just connect with so many different people that are they're like basically the same because like your friends are a little bit of you but a little bit different. So you meet a lot of different people but in the same way we're the same.
Yeah.
Just, you know, you never focus on like, oh, where you're from, everything. So
Right on.
especially in college, we're all come from all different kind of places.
What is your FPU experience been like, and how do you think that's been different? Do you think it's been different for, say, a person who's born here, or versus a person who's migrated here? Do you think that probably the FPU experience is pretty much the same?
I honestly think that it doesn't matter if you're
Yeah.
an immigrant or not because you're exposed to the same things. You get the
Right.
same chances in this campus.
We have to write
that
the
I know
same
of.
papers, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
It might be different like in the challenges and stuff like that, but other than that, it's the same, you know.
Okay.
So
All right. Well, I think that's it. Thank you guys for sharing. I appreciate your time. And this is Roy, and I'm signing off. Thank you. Okay. So this is for Social Work 420, and it is American Ethnicity and Pluralism, and you are the fourth first generation immigrant that I've interviewed. Could you start by just stating your name and what caused you to migrate to the United States and what age you migrated?
My name is Francisco Carrillo. What caused me to immigrate here was my family. My dad got all the residence for the whole family. So then I came from a very dangerous state in Mexico where all the cartels and drug dealers are stated in Michoacan. And then I was 17 years old when I actually came to the United States.
Did you come alone or did you come with family members?
The entire family, my two siblings, my father and my mom.
Okay. What are the primary cultural differences between American society and the society in which you lived previously?
Well, there's a few. There's a few differences. As I know, the language barrier terminates a lot. Color-wise as well. Unfortunately, I live in the country for the entire 5 years. So, not being a city person, it's an impact because you came here and you get to see a different aspect of how the lifestyle is very, very, very fast, very demanding. There is like you have to follow some rules, which is like how to dress up, how to interact. Whereas I lived before, I live in the country, so there was no rules.
No. Nice.
So, so that's I think that's like the major change in my life.
All right. What are the? I think you kind of touched on it. The primary cultural similarities between here and Mexico, and it's Mexico, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And the between the primary similarities.
Well,
What's
since it's California,
Mhm.
so there's so many minorities, but Mexicans are the majority of the minorities.
Mm.
So there is actually cities within California that are actually so Mexicanized that I think there is this sense of home,
Mm-hmm.
but in America.
Okay.
What I mean in America is that the schools are different, but are the same system. They have the same system.
Yeah.
You go to school from 8 to 2:45,
Yeah.
go home, ride a bus if you have to, or just walk home.
So K through 12.
K to 12, yes.
Yeah.
Where college is completely different. Over there, you just go to junior high and you go directly to college.
Okay.
There's no like a junior college, like intermediate there
Mm.
than here. But everything is the same. Food wise, you find a lot of food that you can get in Mexico. Health is the same. The emergency room is hectic all the time.
Oh, really? Yeah. Yeah.
So, and by the
my
time
mom
you,
works in the ER.
and so you see those similarities. Some of the religion aspect too, I would say. I was raised Catholic. I'm still Catholic, but not a traditional cultural Catholic.
Mhm.
Now I go more for the faith, and that's how you live it here,
Okay.
as well as over there.
What's practiced? So, what's practiced differently about religion here and there?
Over there, since I said it, we live in the country, but
Mhm.
there's a city right 30 minutes away from home. There's no study groups like study the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
It's always what the priest is telling you.
Mm.
So they're preaching you to understand without actually reading what is it, right?
Right.
Whereas here, they allow you to open the Bible
See for yourself.
and see for yourself, and then question them.
Okay.
Why is this? Because remember, we're not theologians. We're just like regular human beings.
Right.
But they have a different knowledge because they have been in school, they have been in
Mhm.
seminars, and there's different views. And I have a lot of friends, Protestant friends or Christians with another denomination that see in Mexico is not acceptable
Oh yeah.
because they said, oh, they're gonna change you.
Oh.
They would change you for the better because then you would see
Yeah.
where they're coming from and why they're calling reformers.
Yeah.
So I have a pastor friend here. I have you guys
Mm-hmm.
that are Christians with different denominations, and nobody has told me quit or leave the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
Nobody has told me that because we just believe in the same Jesus, the same
Mhm.
Christ, the same God, the Holy Spirit. There's no fight for it. So
That's what. You still go to Catholic mass here?
I go
Awesome.
to the cathedral.
Okay. How does being Catholic, how important is that to your culture?
Well, imagine 85% of the population in Mexico is Catholic.
Yeah.
Either practicing, not practicing,
Mhm.
but they are considered themselves Catholics.
It's a primary religion of the region.
It's a primary, it's not the state religion as it is in Costa Rica,
Yeah.
but it's a primary religion.
Mhm.
It's very important. Like I said, I was born and raised in a very traditional Catholic
Mhm.
church, church and family. But when it comes to when the world is changing, society is changing, and then you started to encounter yourself in many situations and learning from others, and I bring those home, there's a rejection. They're overprotective of how their beliefs are.
I see.
So for me, I'm a very open person. My sister now is, because I've been speaking to her. I've been encouraged her to open the Bible, read the Bible.
Yeah.
And then my dad once called me traitor because I went to the service with Pastor Sam.
Oh yeah.
And I said no, because I'm not betraying Jesus.
That's right.
Jesus is with them and is with us. That was my answer, and he's been respecting it. But there's a rejection. As far as in Mexico, sometimes I speak like they say you speak like a pastor, but just what? No, it's because I open my Bible, I read, and I explain things differently than the priest is explaining to you, because they're more conservative on many subjects that are really, they have a fine line. Get across it. So no, but it's completely fine. I think now my family is getting used to me coming to working in a Christian school, taking so many Bible classes here, and then having friends not the same denomination as I do.
Right, and when you say your family, you mean the family that's here with you, right?
Yeah.
When you think of the word American, what immediately comes to mind?
Opportunities.
Opportunities. Good answer. There's no wrong answer to any question, but have you experienced prejudice or discrimination since you've come to the United States?
I have. I honestly have. During my high school years, like I mentioned before, I got here when I was 17 years old, and so as you can see, I'm not like really fluent in English. I understand everything you said. I am well written, but sometimes orally, because I'm a dyslexic person, it's kind of difficult. But this is not being racist, but I was sat in a class where it was a senior class, and there was a mix of a lot of races, like Punjabi, black, white, Latin American students. Then I did my this is a presentation that I was doing, and my English is like I said, and they just laughed at me. They said, "You're never gonna be an American because you don't know how to speak English." Because remember, if you live in America, you have to speak English. That's the only way to survive. And I said, "That's right. But if you go to Latin America, you need Spanish to survive."
Yeah.
And the entire class laughed about it. But at that moment, I only reacted to someone that was just out of their mind. And see, it's a mindset that it's been created, that you have to speak English to survive in America. Or as far as my skin color too, so I was called color man, which I totally am, and I'm brown, happy. But I was working in a restaurant, and there's this couple, and they said, "Oh, the color man that attend us, he couldn't refer me to the server or the waitress. Oh, the waitress, that colored man."
Yeah.
So it's kind of it means feelings, because like I said, I have you, Carrie, Melinda, several Americans that just love color man. They don't have nothing, because what it matters is what you have in here. So yeah, I have experience, and it's disturbable, but hopefully that would change someday.
So what are some of the positive experiences that you've had since you've been in the United States?
Oh, a lot. I'd say like probably if you put in a scale of 100%, it will be like 10-15% like really not good experiences, but the rest of them are.
Right.
For instance, being able to become an American citizen and being able to vote, and then after that being able to have a barrier, a spectrum of what is it to be in a country where it's so diverse in many ways. For instance, here in California, if you travel to the south,
Mm-hmm.
if you travel to north, and there's within California, there's a variety of
That is a
personalities,
very diverse
education,
state, yeah.
Italian, American, African American. So being able to experience a lot of things just for fun, like it's hiking in the national parks. That's an experience that people would travel from outside of the country just to come to Sequoia
Mhm.
or Yosemite. We have that around the corner. You
Yeah.
can just easily drive an hour.
Yeah.
Education, I think that's one of the experiences too, because like I said, I can manage going back and forth
Mhm.
from Spanish to English and being able to work, I think, in two different schools.
Right.
So I'm a professor at Fresno State. I teach Spanish at Fresno State, one class, and then I'm a tutor supervisor here. So here's I'm in a secular section of the society, but here I'm in a Christian private school.
Yeah.
So how does Francisco manage that? It's very unique. It's very unique because you don't go and talk about Jesus in a public school,
Mm.
and you openly talk about Jesus here.
Yeah.
So having that mix is molding me to be experienced and explore more, and also within this university, the experience of traveling abroad.
Mm.
I've been in Costa Rica, I've been in Nicaragua, I have been in Colombia. So, like I said, I mentioned before, opportunities. Many doors open, many doors close. But being positive is another experience.
Mhm.
So,
And how would you describe the general relationship between persons of different ethnic backgrounds here in the United States? Because you mentioned how we have so many different people here. How would you describe how would you describe that general relationship? How?
wow, that is such a complex question.
Mm-hmm. It is.
It's well, it is complex because within your same race there's problems,
Diversity. Yeah.
diversity, different mindsets, different beliefs, different. You become a target sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So, for instance, if I said we are supportive as a Hispanic, first generation Latino here in America, we're supportive when it comes to a huge deal. For instance, DACA, which is the permits to the immigrants that came illegally to the United States. We're so supportive.
Mm-hmm.
We support that. But minor things, we're against each other.
Mm.
We're so and it's not that it's a hatred thing, but it's just like because we're so competitive with
Mhm.
each other, that creates a conflict,
Mm.
which is not. I think it's not relevant.
Kind of like the religion thing when you go
It's-
back and
Yes.
because you have a different approach
Yes.
to your faith now, there's some resistance.
There is so resistant, and as well, and schools, you see segregate.
Mm-hmm.
You will see the difference: black with black, white with white, Latin American students with Latin American students, and I was not that person.
Mm.
I hope I am not gonna become one of those that I would like to segregate myself to just one race,
Mm.
because that that will be closing you a lot of new things to grow as a person. So what I did, I have a variety and diversity of friends. I talk to everybody, and even here I have a lot of friends, international friends. So open your mind and open your heart to different ethnicities or groups. It helps, but yet there's divisions within all of them.
All right. Yeah, I agree with you, by the way. Are there differences between persons from your own cultural background who represent different immigrant generations? I think you just kind of answered that. So let's move to the next one. How important is language in the process of learning to function in another culture?
Here in America, number one priority, right?
Right.
As that a student told me in a class, you have to learn English because if you live in America, you need it.
Yeah.
So I kind of got it because he was right in a sense. But you're not gonna be less person if you don't know English.
Yeah.
So learning the language to dive in a culture, to dive into so many systems that America has, that's important. And I have to recognize.
Yeah.
But being bilingual,
Well, that opens up more opportunities. For you.
So I think the language barrier, the language learning, the process of a language, and accept the language. The acceptances of a language gives you calm, like gives you peace. Now I'm dreaming in English. I used to be like, my monitor was off. It's all Spanish at home. Now I live here in Fresno, so everything is in English. Or only my classes because it's just Spanish, but right now, everything is in English. So that's the acceptances that I have for the language and the respect, because I'm learning. I'm learning and I'm studying a language, which is Spanish, and it's a very complex language. But acceptances and not dictate. You have to. You have to. No. Learn it as soon as you can, however you can, with your possibilities, but do not force anybody to learn a language because it's gonna make it worse.
Oh yeah, I think so. How important is it to maintain a sense of ethnic uniqueness to you?
Very.
Yeah.
I think it's important because you have to remember where you're coming from. Like I said, I'm coming from a very dangerous area of Mexico, a very unique as well, because indigenous, there's a reserve of indigenous people. So we have all that cultural, very generic culture that doesn't allow outsiders to come in and change their lifestyle. So I'm an outsider here too, but I'm not changing them. They're trying to change me. So to maintain where I came from, you have to eat the food that you used to eat in Mexico, speak, read about it, but do not forget, because that makes you unique. That makes a person unique. Remember where you're coming from. Having the mindset of you learn is, for me, this is just what I think. Reading about culture is not the same as living the culture.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
So that's why, because I went to Costa Rica, I read about Costa Rica before I went. That was a completely different thing. I been research about Colombia and the word that the 50 year of conflict between the guerrillas and the government. When I get there, I got there, completely different thing. So that's unique.
Mm.
Whatever they project to the United States is completely wrong as when you are in there.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with me. I would say I am projecting something because I'm growing up in America, but that's not me. Me as Francisco who came with the mindset of progressing, growing, learning, opportunities. But there's a grandma, there's a grandpa, there is this ranch back in Mexico. Then if you go over there, you're gonna eat delicious food.
That's what it boils down to. Delicious food.
Authentic.
Authentic. All right. What's your position on marriage across ethnic lines?
Oh, I love intercultural marriages.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's like I said again, acceptances
Mm-hmm.
between races and between colors and between faiths, religions, cultures. It's important
Mm-hmm.
because some of those couples raise a kid or with a unique and authentic life.
Mm-hmm.
Because you say, oh, my dad is Muslim, but then my mom is Christian. How is that combination working?
Mm.
Ooh, that in the American culture it is not accepted.
Yeah.
But just what? They are changing it.
Mm-hmm.
Because they can prove that they can live together, they can raise a kid, and not only that, but they can bring that kid with two different cultures, two different beliefs, and the kid is more exposed, is more open
Mm-hmm.
to the acceptances outside of their home.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they're very little,
Mm-hmm.
but that minority of multiracial couples are showing that diversity is part of the society,
Mm-hmm.
and they must be accepted. And so for that, I would say I would love to see more black and white, or Mexican and white, or Punjabi and white, because that we need more color and mix of colors.
Yeah.
That brings more awareness. I think it's just more about being educated about the subject matter
Mm-hmm.
than actually just pointing at that couple. They are married and then they believe in something different and they are raising a kid. So how does that work? First-hand experience. Like I said, I have a friend who is married to. He's a Muslim and he's married to a Christian,
Hmm.
and they live happy.
Yeah.
There's nothing to worry about it.
Yeah.
But yet, society dictates what is
Mm.
accepted and what is not, which is, for me personally, strong.
What about the microculture within your family, like the family that came over here? Some of the older ones who came with you. How are they as far as accepting that? Would they, like you said, you have a sister, right? She
Yeah.
came with you. Like do they kind of picture her settling down with a nice Mexican boy, or they're just whatever she wants?
You know what? That's one thing that I admire about my father, even though he's a very machista
Mhm.
Mexican,
Machista.
His number one priority was us getting an education.
Mhm.
And he said within the way of education, then you will find the correct person.
Yeah.
But you have to choose it, because I chose mine
Mm.
and I choose correctly. So I'm not gonna tell you to marry this because it's coming from this family, or I'm not gonna tell you to marry that because it's no.
So your family's pretty open about it.
About that subject, yes.
Yeah, about that subject.
Because I think they are just thinking this is their 28th year of being married.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you have to marry with a person that you think you're gonna last until Jesus will.
For love.
Yeah, for love.
For love.
I know it's cultural, but like it's a good way of saying, you know what, daughter, you know what, son, love whoever you love, marry whoever you want to marry, but be happy, rather than you're not marrying an American,
All right.
you're not marrying a Muslim,
Yeah.
you're not marrying a Argentinian, a Colombian. You have to marry a Mexican. No, they never did it, and I'm so glad. Now that I got asked the question, no, never.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
That's a good sign. I think if I had asked the same amount of people that same question 20 years ago, I would have got different answers.
Of course.
You know.
Always, yes, especially in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the 80s were very critical on how everything was going to be viewed and how everything was changing.
Mm-hmm.
But the 90s, it was just that bomb that was dropped and say, move on.
Move on.
Move on. And then the actually 2000s with the millenniums,
Yeah.
they are completely open to so
Yeah.
many things. But those old school persons, especially the white male hierarchy, and then the Mexican hierarchy, the male hierarchy, and then were at the 80s,
Mm-hmm.
that they were lacking of communication and lacking of information, education, and many subjects matter. Now they are being taught by their great grandchildren that, hey, this is okay, grandfather, great father, or whatever. So moving on, that was the word. Just leave it alone. Learn. It's okay. You would see the change.
Yeah.
It's slow. It's in a slow change, but it's here. It's going on, and it will continue going on. So I think being open, being accepting, that's what it counts.
Okay. Do you have anything you'd like to add?
I'm very intrigued about these interviews because they're really specific questions.
Mm-hmm.
And if you were asked these questions to a
Mhm.
first generation Latino 20 years ago, for instance,
Yeah.
he or she will be very scared to talk about anything of that.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point. That's a good point. It shows where we're going as a people in the world.
Because
really.
remember, I have a friend, he's 40 years, he's a first generation Latino, but by his parents, he was forced to speak only English. And now he regrets so much not to learn Spanish because their children wants to learn Spanish.
Yeah.
They saw the importance, but just what? That rejection 20 years ago has consequences at this moment.
Yeah.
That's why now we move on and continue working and growing. Because we're here to learn.
Mhm.
We're not here to demand like other people would think. No, I'm here to learn. I'm another student of life.
Yeah.
There's no such a
Okay,
beauty
that
as
sounds- yeah.
being a student in life.
Right on.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much
Thank you Ray,
for your
the
time,
invitation.
Francisco.
I appreciate that you had actually me in mind for
Yeah.
this interview. Whenever,
Okay.
we're here to help.
Thank you.
Alrighty?
Appreciate it. All right. So, some of the things that I learned during this interview process. One, I learned that my interview skills definitely need to improve, and I think that as you see, as each person goes to the video, you see that I got a little bit better at speaking through the interview questions. When I did the interview with Anna and Abigail, that was my first interview. My second interview was Doug Kalunga, and then my third interview was Francisco. I think that so personally, I think that I learned a little bit more about communication and how to talk to people and allow them to have time to speak and have their own opinions. Um, and then as far as the feedback that I got, some of the things that I learned, that some of the similarities that all of them had was that all of them seemed to be very, very open to and even sometimes adamant about the importance of actually marriage across ethnic lines. Believe Doug even said that's how we got Obama, which is a very good point. And they really think it's a good thing. Francisco really spoke a lot about how we think it really enriches the children of these relationships have a much more richer history. And I think which I think is a good sign. I think it's a sign that society in America these days is beginning to take a is beginning to take what's the word I'm looking for here, a a uh, a more open approach to this. They're beginning to become more accepting. I really think that, and I also seeing how these people are all from different regions of the world, it also kind of tells me that, and then they seem to have, even the two gentlemen who were older when they came over here, they seem to come over here with that idea that multi-ethnic marriage is okay, and so. I think that really plays into, I really think that is a result of kind of a globalist type of idealism that's actually happening in the planet, and the way I think technology plays a big role in that. I think that'd be something interesting to research maybe in the future, is the role technology plays in that, because there's so much more communication that goes on globally at this point than there was in the early years when people could be more segregated into their smaller groups and smaller social systems. So I really think that that from what I've gathered from these interviews, I think that I get a picture that a centered pluralist idealism is really starting to take effect in America, which is similar to the melting pot, except for that it allows people to hold on to a little bit more to where they came from and actually contribute it, and it's accepted in our society, and we accept diversity in our society to the point that we actually allow it to enrich our culture. And I think that's really a positive thing. I also learned that doing a video interview and video type of paper actually entails a lot more work than I expected that it would. And I also think that you get a little different level of dimension. One of the positive things about doing the video interview is you can actually see the facial expression. You can actually hear the person talk with their voice. You can hear the inflection of the tone of their voice, and you can actually see where you can see where people, if they're getting frustrated with the question, or maybe maybe they're offended but they answer the question anyway. Some of these things, when you write it down on paper, it's kind of hard to capture that. Also, you can also tell which people are really willing to share a lot about their story and where they came from and how they got here. I really also want to know. It seems like the Abigail and Anna, when they came at an earlier age. It really seemed like they were a lot more Americanized. I think the reason why they didn't want to answer some of the other questions, I think that they were offended to even think that maybe possibly they would not be considered, that they would be maybe they're not offended but uncomfortable with the thought of being interviewed as somebody from another country. I think that they consider themselves more from here, and I think they take pride in that. But then I also think that the like Doug and Francisco with their experience having come across older, I think they take a lot of pride in their experience, and I think they also equally consider themselves American. But I think that they've held on to it. Personally, it seems like they've held on to their heritage a lot more. Like it's more ingrained in who they are. Even Doug, when I interviewed him, you'd see he had his Congo flag right next to him. He chose that spot. He wanted to sit there with his Congo flag, which is right there in his office. I really, but ultimately, I think I want to thank all of the people that I interviewed for being open to me and sharing their story and for being genuine. For being genuine in their experience, and I want to thank and for actually coming and contributing to this country, which we all have in common and we all love, and I praise God for them. And so I think that wraps it up. So thank you guys very much, and I do think that maybe I'll add more to this as I go through my career. I think that maybe I could have I think maybe this video would be better if I had more time to edit it. I actually wanted to ask the questions, and then I wanted to videotape me asking the questions, and then edit the video together to where that you could see each person answer each individual question, and you could see an interview progress, almost like as if, even though there were 4 separate interviews, almost like the 4 of them were all interviewed at the same time. But I need a little more practice with that, and a little bit, I need to build my skill set to where that I'll be able to do that. So I think maybe as I go through my career, I think this is something that I'm going to keep in my files, and I think I'm going to pull it out and look at it and use it as a tool later on in the future, and probably even perfect it a little bit. It has been a learning experience for me in several different ways, and I'm grateful for that. Bye.